everyone to my show, Ask the Cheese Doctor. My name is Dietrich Truxes, and I am the Cheese Doctor. And I am transmitting from Auckland, New Zealand, directly to all around the planet. And today is my English version of my program that I have every Saturday. My program in Spanish, as you know, I am a Spanish speaker. I am from Venezuela, and I make cheese and I teach how to make cheese. And I have a program every Saturday at 9 o'clock, but now I changed it. I was doing it, sorry, I was doing it, my English program, I was doing it on Saturdays at 7 p.m., but people have called me and asked me, please, can you come back to the original schedule because we can watch it over there because it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm going to please you. I'm going to make the program again at 7 p.m. so you guys can learn how to make cheese and spread the voice that I exist. If people who want to learn how to make cheese and they want to speak and they speak English, for sure you will learn with me how to make cheese. If you want to be in my mentoring program, you also you have to join it, and that's it. Okay. Now we have, thank you to you all. Now we are 13,700 subscribers. This is because of you. Without you, we wouldn't have any show. So I'm very grateful, and I am very I'm gonna carry on. It compromised me more to make more videos, to make more content. I want to give you the thanks. I want to thank Alfredo Duarte. He's a Latin American, and for joining my program. Okay, this week, and I'm gonna make three more videos. I'm gonna teach how to make ghee. Ghee is clear butter from India. So I'm gonna teach how to make ghee, and I'm gonna start it today. And also we're gonna make the tasting test of the cacio ricotta, the one that we did last week, and the stracchino, which is ready. The stracchino is ready. I'm gonna make the video as well, so you can see how in the cheese you're gonna see how it's liquefied inside. And I'm gonna make. I'm a long time ago. I reckon before creating this program in English, I made an Argentinian cheese called queso cremoso, and this cheese has been ripening for a long time, and it had become creamy, really creamy, and pasteurize. So I'm going to cut it and taste it, and so you guys can watch the video and see the texture how it was and the texture how it is now. Maybe I'm gonna show both images of the cheese before and after, so you guys can compare how the cheese have developed. Because now with time the cheese will improve in flavor. It is vacuum packed, so it has been vacuum packed. So the flavor will still be there, and I bet that it's gonna be more it's gonna be yummier. Okay, as I said, today we're gonna see. You see the image at the back? You know what it is? Correct. This is the cheese that you are thinking. It's a blue cheese. Today we're gonna speak about blue cheese. I'm gonna teach you the technique. First, the topic is very long, so we have to split it in two. And we're gonna touch today the first part. I'm gonna explain you how it is produced, what type of bacteria you have to use, and what to consider. And in the next week, we're going to talk about how to make it, what is the pH and way off. Anyway, we're gonna have a lot of fun here talking about blue cheeses. Blue cheese is one of my favorites. I have two favorite cheeses: the Parmigiano Reggiano and Roquefort. These are my two blue ones, my top two. So, and I'm gonna teach you how to make them, both of them. Okay. Okay, let's start. And I want to hold you up more. All of us have things to do, and I want to share this. I'm gonna share the screen. Wait. Here we are. Okay. Here we are. Let me see. Oh, hasn't started yet. Why? Yeah. This platform is killing me. Okay, here we are. Now, finally. Okay, we're going to speak about blue cheese. As you know, blue cheeses, the first blue cheeses of the planet was created in France and in the village of Roquefort. So there's a story, very funny story. And there are many stories, but anyway, the thing is that the Roquefort cheese has a type of mold that is a green one that make the cheese more flavor, given a piquant flavor, and it's very strong and yummy. Of course, it smells a lot as well. So, but I'm gonna teach you all the basics for making this type of cheese. Okay. Okay. As you know, the blue cheeses, the blue is the color of the mold, which is the Penicillium roqueforti that you can see here in the image, right? This is the in the microscope you can watch like the Penicillium roqueforti. It's a mold. It's a mold that you put into the milk. You also can spray the cheese on the outside with the atomizer, and you can mix the mold with water and spray all the cheese on the outside, and the cheese and the mold will develop, changing the pH of the cheese and giving changing the pH. And by changing the pH, the structure of the cheese inside, the texture will also change, and therefore the flavor. And the flavor will become stronger and more piquant, so spicy. And so blue cheeses, we have many types of blue cheeses. We have in America they call it blue cheeses. Okay, in France they call it Roquefort cheese. Okay, so we have several styles of blue cheese. In the Roquefort cheese is in France and it's made of sheep milk. We can make blue cheeses with any type of milk. We can make with goat milk. We can make with cow's milk. We can make blue cheeses with sheep milk. In France, they use sheep milk to make the blue cheese, and this cheese is called Roquefort cheese. It has a strong smell. It's very spicy. Okay, I would say it has a piquant flavor. Okay, because it's very piquant flavor. Okay, this cheese, the Roquefort, is crumbly, which means that when you cut it, it just crumbles. I mean, it's not stingy; it crumbles. Okay, and the Roquefort cheese is aged in cave originally. There's still the cave over there, and there's still people ripening the cheeses into the caves, and each cave produce a different type of mold. So the experts know which type of the cheesemaker, or I would say the cheese tuners, they know what type of mold should they use when they're making the Roquefort. Depending of the type of mold that the cheese get inoculated, the cheese will have more or less flavor. Okay, and as I said, in France is the Roquefort. In England, we have another blue cheese called Stilton, and it's a very famous. All these two cheeses that I mentioned before have origin denomination, or DOP. Okay, protected origin denomination. Denomination in Spanish is denomination of origin protected, but it's DOP. The Stilton cheese is made with cow milk. It have also strong flavor and Also, it smells a lot, okay, and it's creamy. And as I said, it's made with cow milk. We have the gorgonzola, which is the Italian one, and the gorgonzola cheese is softer than Stilton. I have tried the gorgonzola. My wife loved it. She loves it. It has also a strong smell, and it's wider. Okay, gorgonzola is wider, but it's also made with cow's milk. The flavor is a little bit milder than the Roquefort, but it's also strong anyway. The holes are irregular, and it has a very piquant flavor. And in USA, they call all the cheeses with mold, with green mold, they call it blue cheeses. They also call it in Denmark, in France, Argentina as well. They make it with cow milk. Now all the cheeses have a white color, and they're creamy and very strong flavor. Okay. Another blue cheese called Mizela from Denmark. Cabrales is from Spain. Okay, Cabrales cheese is from Spain, and the Saint-Augur is a cheese from France. I have tried, very good. And here in New Zealand, we make blue cheese from cheddar. We make a cheddar blue, which is very good, and it has an English ascendance somewhere. And the thing is that because cheddar is from England, right? So the cheesemakers, to innovate, have put mold into the cheddar, and the cheese has become very good. So cheddar blue is just another type of blue cheese with cheddar flavors and stuff. Okay, so it's very good. We can also make blue cheeses with goat milk if you want. The idea is that the imagination is the limit. We can mix cheese. We can mix milks as well, mixing the three milks: cow, goat, and sheep. And we could make a blue cheese as well. And I'll leave it to you. And if you like the idea, make comment here. You can comment here and give it a try, and then I can give you my feedback if you want. Okay. As I said, the top three are Roquefort cheese, Stilton cheese, and Gorgonzola. All of them have more or less the same characteristics. Okay, because they are all made using the same mold. Okay, all of the cheeses use the Penicillium roqueforti, which is the mold for blue cheeses. Okay, so if you want to make any blue cheese, it doesn't matter what type of milk you use. If you're gonna make a blue cheese, you have to use Penicillium roqueforti as your mold, because this is the mold that will attack your cheese and will make the cheese to develop the flavor. Okay. When you make this type of cheeses, you have to reach a pH between 3 and 10, because the mold use the acid as a food and will change the pH. It will tend to raise the pH of the cheese. Okay, so when I mean tends to raise the pH, is to make it more alkaline. Okay, remember that the pH values goes against the number. The lower, the more acid. The higher the number, is more alkaline. Okay, so one of the things of the Penicillium roqueforti is that they have a lot of tolerance for salt. So you can put even 5% of salt in your curd, and the mold will develop. So it's a very strong and very, very strong mold that it has a high salt tolerance. A high salt tolerance. Yeah. Of course, when we make this type of cheeses, it requires oxygen. because however the mold can develop in very low levels of oxygen, but it will develop very well if we allow the oxygen to come inside the cheese. That's the reason we at a certain stage in the maturing process, we have to pierce the cheese. What I mean by pierce is literally pierce it. We have to just pin it, and from one side to the other, so that we can pin it with a bar or with at home we can do it with our thermometer. So we pin it from one end to the other to allow the oxygen to come inside, and then the mold will because it has oxygen inside, the mold will develop perfectly and beautiful. As I said, it requires oxygen to grow, and when the mold is growing and feeding from the lactic acid that is inside the curd, it will produce the mold will produce an enzyme called protease, which the protease is the enzyme that changes the texture of the cheese, and also produce lipase. The lipase is another enzyme that changes the flavor of the cheese. So this mold produces protease and lipase, which are two enzymes that change the flavor, the texture and the flavor of the cheese respectively. Okay. When we make this type of cheeses, we can do it in two ways. Either putting the mold into the milk, just the mold comes like in a powder. So we put the powder into the milk, let it hydrate for 5 minutes. It's like adding the lactic culture. So what we do is we buy it in the stores where these guys that sell stuff for cheese making or for making cheese, and they have, of course, those depending of the product that you buy. I'm gonna explain this later on. The mold have different intensities of flavor and colors. So I'm gonna tell you one in a minute. So the thing is that we add the mold into the milk, and when we add it, the mold will get hydrated, and then we just stir it and spread it all along the way, the body of the milk, and then when we coagulate the milk, the mold will be there, but he will not grow because he doesn't have oxygen. So what we have to do is, when we make as I said, a certain stage of the cheese making process, we have the block of cheese, and we have to pierce it to allow the oxygen to come inside and allow the mold to grow. Okay. When we make one way to make this mold is to use it's grown on bread in a mixture of bleach and barley flour. Okay, this is a mixture that some people prepare, but I don't use it. What I do is I just buy it in the cheese making stores, and that's it. I forget about it. Sometimes it comes in liquid, sometimes it comes in powder. I use both. Sometimes what I also do is I use the powder one, put it in a bottle with water, dissolve it, and then just atomize the cheese on the outside with a sprinkler, and it will become really, it will develop perfectly. Okay. So what is the effect of the mold when we age the cheese? As I said before, the mold will attack the outside of the curd. It acts from the outside to the inside, and it will the mold, because on the outside we have oxygen, it will attack it from the outside to the inside, and the mold get the lactic acid that is into the curd. He uses it as a food and start to proteolize and lipolize the cheese. It will change the texture and the flavor of the cheese. Okay, as I said here. And by lipolyzing the cheese, it will develop more flavor. The flavor of the cheese will become more spicy, more piquant. Okay. Also, in this process, there's going to be production of alcohols. Okay. And this production of alcohol will make the cheese to smell. These are called, well, I'm not going to go so deep with it because that's not the scope of the presentation, but type of alcohol. I'm not going to tell you the names because there's no point to tell it to you now. Okay. The thing is that when the cheese is ripening, is aging into the caves, of course, it will have to have a certain level of acidity, of moisture, and a certain temperature. We have, in general, this cave have 5 degrees centigrade, Celsius degrees, 5 degrees Celsius, and 90% of humidity. It's in the recipe anyway. Okay, and I will give it to you in the next class. As I said, the effect in aging the cheese, the mold, pasteurize and lipolyze the cheese, which is increase the texture and the flavor. Okay. Now, when we're making this type of cheeses, we have to buy the mold, right? So I'm gonna tell you the 3 or 4 types of molds that you have to buy. Let me hide this here. So, whenever you're gonna make cheese, blue cheeses, and you wanna buy the mold, you have to go to the supplier and, hey, I want the PRB6. The company that sells this cheese, this mold is Danisco. Okay, and this mold is liquid, and it gives a bright color, a bright green color into the cheese. Okay, it grows very fast, and the mold proteolyze and lipolyze the cheese. Okay, very, very quickly. Okay, sorry, it have a medium proteolytic and lipolytic activity. Medium, not so high, medium. And we use this type of mold when we want to make Stilton or the Bleu de Belle, which is a French cheese. Okay, this is explained in the recipes, so don't worry about it. However, you can use the type of bacteria that you please. If you want to use PRB18 for making Stilton, it's up to you. Because I mean, and in this way, you will not be following the recipe, and so what? So you will make your cheese will have your own personal touch. So and this is why I say that making cheese is making art, because we don't have to use the PRB6 for making Stilton if we don't want. Okay, the recipe establishes like that, but I might use a stronger flavor because I like cheeses with more flavor, and you can give any different name. That's up to you. And this is where the fun is. Not to follow the rules, just go to innovate. Okay, another type of bacteria of mold is the PRB18, also from Danisco. Danisco is a big company. They sell lactic cultures. They sell a lot of stuff, and they're very good. I use them, and I buy, and you can buy them from there as well. Okay, this PRB18 give the cheese a blue color. Okay, it's liquid all as well, and the growth of the mold is slow. Okay, it has also a soft proteolytic, and it has soft proteolytic and strong lipolytic activity. Okay, and it can be used for small blue goat cheeses. Okay, I mean, this is what the cheesemakers recommend. As I said, if you want to, you can use it for small blue goat cheese, but you can also use it for any type of cheese that you want. Okay, it's not a rule; it's just a recommendation. There is another mold called PA from Danisco as well. Danisco, however, it has the monopoly. Okay, it gives the cheese a dark green color. It grows very fast. Okay, and it has a soft proteolytic and lipolytic activity. When I say when I mean proteolytic and lipolytic activity, remember what is proteolysis. Proteolysis is a process where the cheese changes texture, and lipolysis is a process when the cheese changes flavor, improved flavor. Okay, so this type of mold change textures and improve flavor. They have proteolytic texture and lipolytic flavor. Also, you have to associate proteolysis with texture, change of texture, and lipolysis with change of flavor. Okay, get it like this, and you won't have any problem anymore. Another type of mold is the PV, also from Danisco. Okay, because they are the wholesalers. What we do is we buy the mold from them in wholesale. 1 kilo, for example, 1 kilo of mold, and then we repack it and sell it. This is what I do. Okay? And I'll give you my secret. Anyway, doesn't matter. That's what you're here for, to learn. No problem. Okay, this last mold is from Danisco. It gives the cheese a blue-green color, between blue and green. Okay? Grow very fast. And the proteolytic activity and the lipolytic one is more or less medium. Okay, so these are things that you have to consider. If you want, for example, if you want a cheese to have a very fast proteolytic and lipolytic activity, you will ripen it maybe for 1 or 2 months. If your cheese if your mold have a slow lipolytic and proteolytic activity, you have to ripen it longer. Okay, so you have to consider this when you're using this mold. Okay, next program, I'm going to tell you how to make, what are the manufacturing principles of the blue cheeses. And the thing is that you have to know what type of temperature to use, how much amount of mold you have to use, what type of mold you need to use, how to make the process. This type of cheeses will have a very special technique. I will explain in the next program, because otherwise I will be here 2 hours explaining the recipe, and that's not the point. The point is you guys have a little bit of knowledge and then answer your question if you have any. Okay, that's my idea, my plan, and this is the same protocol that you use with the Spanish people. Okay. Now, okay, let's go to the QA. Let me close the presentation here. And if you have any answer, and we can go from there. Okay. Let's go. Okay, now I have a question here. I have heap of questions. Okay, can I wash the curd when these questions are questions that people from my channel have made, and I try to answer them because I don't have time to answer them when they ask, because I do something else as well besides having the show. I also have my own business, and so I have here is when I answer all the questions from the audience. Okay, so if you have any other question, just you need to, instead of, you can ask me anyway, but I'm gonna invite you to come to my program, and so you can have it. Okay, so first question is, can I wash the curd when I use the traditional way of making mozzarella? Is it right? Well, the thing is that this person is from Nigeria, I reckon. Manal is her name, and she always comes to the program. Thank you, Manal, for coming here to my program. Okay, look, you can wash the curd if you're gonna make mozzarella, but the thing is, in general terms, we don't wash the curd when we make mozzarella. Why? Because when we make the mozzarella, we pasteurize the milk, and we re-inoculate the milk with the bacteria. In this case, for mozzarella, it's thermophilic cultures. Okay, what we do is we put the amount recommended for the supplier, and we're gonna let it hydrate, and the bacteria will start to produce lactic acid. They will start to produce lactic acid at a certain rate. For example, and the acidification is measured in ions of hydrogens per minute or per hour or whatever. So, but there is one thing: when you are making the cheese and you are acidifying the cheese, you have to get a texture, okay, and a pH, both. If you reach, for example, if your pH is almost at the pH target, but you haven't reached the texture yet, you have to slow down the acidification. Okay, you have to slow down the acidification process of the bacteria. You have to slow it down. How you do that? Adding water. You have to wash the core in this case. But if you don't have this process, there is no point to washing the core because you're going to slower the process, and your cheese making process will be longer. So that's not the idea. If your bacteria have this correct rate of acidification, and you know that you're going to make your cheese in 3 hours or 4 hours, because you have to allow time for the bacteria to develop the acid and cheddarize the curd and get to the right pH. If this process goes smoothly, there is no point to wash the core because you already have the texture. But if you already reach the pH, the level of acidification, and you haven't gotten the texture, you have to slow down the acidification process, and this is when you add water. Okay, otherwise there is no point to do it. We wash the curd when we make other type of cheeses, for example, Swiss cheeses, because the Swiss cheeses, they have a sweet flavor or nutty flavor. So this is when we do it, and it's established in the recipe. But for mozzarella, no. However, it happened to me before. When I start using a new lactic culture, I don't know the speed of acidification or the rate of acidification, and I have to calibrate it. So what I do is I put the bacteria. If I notice that my rate of acidification is too fast, I have to slow it down by adding water. What I take way out from the vat, correct? I decrease the level of lactose. There will be less lactose in the vat. I add water, and therefore the bacteria will not have enough food to reproduce, and therefore the rate of acidification will be slower. And this is what we want. Okay? Okay, let me go with another question. Wait. Okay. Okay, here we are. Another question. What kit do I have to buy to make Oaxaca cheese? Well, remember, Oaxaca cheese is a mozzarella. So you can buy any type of cheese to make mozzarella. In my website, I have a cheese kit, a cheese making kit to make queso de mano, which is also a mozzarella. So you can use this cheese making kit without any problem. And we'll make the good thing about my kit is that you don't have to measure anything. You just need because all the cheese comes to make 4 batches. So you can use one kit, the sake, open it, put it to the milk, follow the recipe, but you don't have to measure anything. It's all pre-dosed, and it's very easy to make. So you can do whatever you want. Okay. I have calcium chloride in powder. How can I prepare a 30% solution of calcium chloride? Very easy. I'm going to tell you the secret. Remember, when you use calcium chloride, you have to use food-graded calcium chloride. You cannot use calcium chloride that you sell that is sold on the hardware stores for pools and stuff. No, you have to use calcium chloride, which is food-graded. And by saying that, food-graded is at 99.9% of pureness. So you have to use this type of calcium chloride. Otherwise, if you use less pure calcium chloride, let's say, for example, 80% calcium chloride, you're still going to have 20% of impurity, and this impurity might be hazardous for your health. So we have to use food-grade ones, which is 99.9% purity. Okay, so how to prepare it? Very easy. Because it's 30% solution, you just have to wait. Remember, when I say 30% solution, it's 30 grams of solute or 30 grams of calcium chloride, 99% purity, per 100 milliliters of water. Correct? So you just have to wait 100 milliliters of water. You just have to wait 30 grams of calcium chloride. Just wait it and pour until you reach 100 milliliters. Okay, you have to, for example, with the glass empty, in this case, if the glass is empty, you put the calcium chloride here, wait, you have to pre-weigh the calcium chloride. Put the calcium chloride here. Now you know that you have 30 grams because you already weighed it, correct? So now you're going to fill up with water until you reach 100 milliliters. You have to have a glass with reading that you can read 100 milliliters. When you read 100 milliliters, that's it. Just pour the water until the level, stir, dissolve, and you have a solution of calcium chloride at 100 milliliters. Don't do what many people do. Weigh the calcium chloride, put in the water, and then pour 100 milliliters of water. No, that's not the way to do it because you're putting more water than expected. You have to reach the 100 milliliters level. This is how you prepare it. If you do it the other way, you will have not a 30% solution. You will have maybe a 25, 28, 29% solution of calcium chloride. Okay, this is how it should be. Okay, another question from Nosar. Nosar is from Saudi Arabia. What is the easy way to pasteurize milk at home? Okay, Nosar, very easy. And this is what I used to do before. Now, and my advice, pasteurize the milk if you're using raw milk, okay? How to do it? You can do it, just get your milk, heat them up at 6 until it reaches 63 degrees Celsius, correct? Wait for, and then keeping the temperature, okay? Keeping the 63 degrees for half an hour. After half an hour, put your milk into your sink with ice water on the outside, and then start stirring your milk. Try to avoid that the water from the ice water spills into the inside of your pan, okay? Of your pot, because it will contaminate your milk again. So put it in the sink with ice water, or water with ice, and it has to be really cold, maybe 1 degree, and start stirring the milk. By stirring the milk, your milk will be hot at 63. The outside of your sink will be at 1 degree, and there will be an exchange of heat. Your milk will start to lower temperature until you reach the temperature of your recipe. When you get, which is more or less between 30 or 40 degrees. It will depend on the recipe that you use to make cheese. So, but it's important that you stir the milk, not too hard, because you can break the fat globules, and therefore you can have off flavors. Okay, so stir the milk. Your milk will lower down. Don't wait. Some people used to tell me, no, I left my milk, I heat them up, and I left it for half an hour, and then I let it cool down just by resting there, and it rested for 3 hours. No, the idea is that you have to lower the temperature as fast as possible. That's the reason you have to stir, because by stirring, your milk that is hot at the moment will have an exchange temperature with the ice water, and the temperature will tend to lower. Okay, so this is what you have to do. After reaching your recipe, boom, carry on with your process. Or if you want to drink it or put it in the fridge, you can lower the temperature up to 5 degrees, depending. But the thing is that it will take longer. But if you reach the temperature of your recipe, it's all right. If you're making cheese, okay. Okay, Melanie. Hi, I was experimenting and I had some fresh kefir, and instead of a starter culture, I use kefir for kafili. Kafili is a type of cheese. Follow the recipe, but the cheese looks airy and gassy, which means that it has a lot of holes inside. Springy. Will I kill someone with this? Should I bin or continue to mature it? Or will it explode on the fridge? Well, by exploding, I wouldn't be so melodramatic. Anyway, look, if you use kefir, the kefir is a culture that produces gas. That's the reason it's a seed that produces gas. When it gets fermented, it produces gas. That's the reason why your cheese looks airy and gassy. Doesn't matter. It's not the end of the world. If you took if your process was sanitized and you sanitize your equipment and you sanitize your surfaces before making the cheese, your cheese pot or your vat, whatever, you shouldn't have any problem. Okay, the cheese will become airy or gassy because you use this type of this type of culture. It's not the end of the world. Go for it. It won't explode. The cheeses don't explode. Maybe it would crack a little bit, but for the amount of kefir that you use, I wouldn't think so. Okay, so don't worry. Break it up. When I made my first cheese, I used kefir as well, kefir yogurt, and my cheese was really beautiful, full of holes. I made it with raw milk, which is not allowed by the international standard. But by that time I used raw milk. Now I don't use raw milk anymore. I just pasteurize it. But give it a try, and you're good. You're good. You're in the right track. Okay. Try not to use kefir. Try to use lactic culture like Streptococcus thermophilus, or Lactobacillus lactis or sublactis, or Lactobacillus lactis subcremoris. These are mesophilic or thermophilic culture that you can find in the places where they sell lactic culture. If you can't find them, go to my website. And in my website, I have heaps. I have mesophilic ones, thermophilic ones, and now I'm going to have another type of culture, Flora danica and Leuconoschot mesenteroides. This is a culture that produces gas. I mean, I will have, because I already buy them, and I'm going to put it on my store soon. But anyway, you can use any type of lactic culture depending on the cheese that you're making. Okay. Okay. Hi, Dietrich. I would like to store mozzarella balls in liquid solution like store-bought. Try water unchlorinated plus small amount of calcium chloride and salt. Mozzarella traditional acidified by culture. Okay. So you did the mozzarella the right way, the traditional way. Okay. I noticed that its structure after a day. Sorry, I noticed that it changed the structure after a day of storage. Mention solution. Do you have tips? Well, look. Making mozzarella the traditional way is very tricky. You have to be very experimented to make, because you have to reach the right texture and the right level of acidity. Obviously, you are getting the right level of acidity because you're making the mozzarella. But sometimes when we make this type of mozzarella, our curd is too wet, and when you put it into the unchlorinated water with calcium chloride, no, without calcium chloride, it will become slimy. Okay, and yeah, slimy, and it doesn't have it won't have a good appearance in the eye. So one thing that you have to do is let it dry up a little bit more, and you have to, as I said before, you have to get the right texture or the right level of acidity of moisture of the curd with the right level of acidity. That's not easy to get. You have to get it. I mean, experience will tell you how to do it. When you make it, you will notice, okay, now it's become, you have to calibrate until you get your right level of texture. Once you get your right level of texture and the acidity, your mozzarella wouldn't change texture, okay? Wouldn't change the structure. What I do to avoid this type of problems, I just vacuum pack it. When I make mozzarella, I take it out of the vat, knead it, boom, stretch it. Once it's ready, I cool them up, take it out of the water. Remember, when you cool them up, use ice water, but with salt at the same time. 15% salt solution or brine solution, but ice with 1 or 2 degrees. The idea is to cut the process instantaneously. So after taking it out, I just wrap it up with plastic film and let it, because it's already cold, I just vacuum pack it straight away. By vacuum pack it, I don't allow the oxygen to come into the cheese. Therefore, it will not react, and the cheese will last longer. However, mozzarella cheese is a fresh cheese, and it's very hard. It doesn't change the structure. Vacuum packing it will last longer. Put it in the water, it will become softer. Another way to do it to make the mozzarella to last longer is by freezing it. You're not gonna believe it, but I taste a friend of mine that I appreciate a lot. He gave me burrata frozen from Italy, imported from Italy, and he kept it in the fridge maybe for 3 or 4 months. And then after that, he invited me to his house, and we unfrozen it, let it get hot at the right temperature. I mean, it got hot, it was melted, it became to the right temperature, and then we ate it at 12 degrees Celsius, more or less, after being frozen, and it was delicious. So give it a try and tell me after if you want. Okay, how are we with the time? 10 minutes. The time has passed like this. Okay, let me go with another question. I hope I have answered your question. Let me see. Victoria, okay, what do you think of raw versus pasteurized in regard to flavor? I am making both feta, chèvre, and yogurt, and I am actually finding the pasteurized has more flavor. Okay, look, Victoria. First thing, chèvre, yogurt, and feta are fresh cheeses, so you have to use pasteurized milk. However, if you're gonna make feta, you can use raw milk and put it in brine and leave it for 6 months, and it will be better each time. I mean, the longer the better. By using with chevre and yogurt, I would go with pasteurized milk, not raw milk. The thing is that you're saying that your flavor, you try the pasteurized milk and it is better. Well, that's you. I I'm not going to say the opposite, but I prefer raw milk. For fresh cheeses, if you're gonna make these three cheeses are fresh cheeses. Of course, if fresh cheeses, when you make a fresh cheese at the beginning of the ripening process, the flavor is always lactic because the cheese hasn't ripened for a long time. It's fresh, so it's not ripened. Okay, maybe you like more the pasteurized milk. Okay, that's valid. But if you ripen the cheese longer, I assure you that the raw milk will develop more flavor than the pasteurized milk. At first stage, maybe the pasteurized will have more flavor because, okay, this is what you like because you liked it. Honestly, I don't like it. I don't. And I eat fresh cheeses with pasteurized milk, and they're okay. The flavor is mild; it's not very strong. Okay. With raw milk, I like it better with raw milk. The flavor is better. This is what I say. The point is that making fresh cheeses with raw milk is illegal because it's not approved by the international standard. We can become sick. So the raw milk might have, because it's raw, might have listeria, might have salmonella, might have streptococcus aureus, aphthous, brucellosis. It might have also antibiotics. So that's the reason we pasteurize the milk, to avoid this type of risk into our milk. So, but it's up to you. If you say that your milk is better pasteurized, it's up to you. I prefer raw milk, but I don't eat fresh cheeses with raw milk, made with raw milk. Always made with pasteurized milk. Okay, here another one, Pinot Elvis. Watching your videos of how to make yogurt, you put a spoon of tapioca flour. What is tapioca? Tapioca is it's a flour, and they also call it starch. Okay, it's a type is to thicken the yogurt. When we make yogurt, and we acidify the milk, depending on the type of milk that you use, it will become thicker or not. By using tapioca, we assure that the tapioca will thicken your yogurt. I mean, it's just an optic appearance. I mean, your cheese will become thick. Sorry, your yogurt will become thicker instead of liquid. Okay, and when we make, for example, kefir yogurt, and you put the kefir, the kefir bacteria into the milk, it will make the curd thicker, but not a little bit liquid. By adding tapioca, what we're doing is thickening the yogurt. We'll thicken it, and to make it look better for the consumer. This is the only reason. You can also use pectin, agar, any how do you call it? I don't know the name. I don't remember the name. Any thickener, any type of thickener to make your product, or your yogurt in this case, to make it thicker. Okay. Another one. When I make mozzarella cheese, the cheese starts to stretch perfectly, but after heating it, it will become sandy, and it becomes, sorry, not sandy, grainy. It becomes grainy, and the thing is that I'm reading in Spanish. Okay, when I'm making mozzarella, it starts to stretch perfectly, and then it becomes grainy, and and I get it textured as ricotta. What I'm doing wrong? Okay, this is very easy. Look, what you're doing wrong, you notice that your mozzarella is stretching good, eh? So it's stretching good because, or it's stretching well because you have the right level of acidity. The thing is that your rate of heat is too high, and by heating too fast, your mozzarella or the heat will dissolve the free fat layer that is into the casein, and this free fat goes just spread out, and you lose the cheese. So what you have to do is, by heating, you have to slower down the rate of heat. You have to heat more or less 2 degrees Fahrenheit per minute. Go slowly, okay? And try to use hot water instead of putting it into the pan. Because by putting it into the pan, some people do, they just heat the mozzarella, put it into a pan, turn on the stove, and boom. And the heat is so fast and so high that it will melt the free fat of the casein, and therefore you will lose your cheese and you'll get only ricotta. So slower down the rate of heating, and you won't have any problem. It happened to me as well. So don't worry about it. It's part of the journey to make this type of mistake. So slower down the rate of heat, and you won't have any problem anymore. Okay. Okay, I reckon we have a couple of questions. When I age cheese, no, he says here, the question is in Spanish. When I make queso maduro de borrega, it's a type of cheese, it's a aged cheese. This cheese has a small layer that is rancid. It smells rancid. Any remedies? Yeah. When your cheese is rancid, it smells rancid, it's because you have too much butyric acid, and when the cheese smells rancid, dump it because you might get sick. So I don't like to do it, but at least, or it is becoming rancid only on the outside, just cut the whole layer, and the rest, try to pack them up, vacuum pack it, and then eat it straight away, or as long as possible. But if it is becoming rancid, it's because the cheese is getting rotten, so you have to dump it or get rid of it really fast. If the layer is very small, just cut maybe 50 mils or 10 mils, cut it, dump it, and keep the rest, vacuum pack it, and sell it or eat it fast, as quick as possible. Okay? But if it is rancid in the whole cheese, dump it. Don't eat a cheese that is rancid, in general terms. Okay? Eventos Contrapunto is a subscriber from YouTube. Can you please tell me how to make campesino cheese? Well, look, campesino cheese is a fresh cheese, so it's very easy to make. Heat the milk at 30 degrees, for example. Put the bacteria, let's say a mesophilic one. Put the bacteria, let it ripen for 1 hour. After 1 hour, just close the milk, coagulate it, or after ripening the milk for 1 hour, put the rennet, Stir for 1 minute, let it coagulate for 1 hour. After 1 hour, cut, stir, get the right texture, get the right pH, and weigh off, or take the weigh off, mold it, or before that, you just drain the whey until curd level, put water, or take all the whey if you want. Get the salt, dry salted, boom, get the right level of salt, mold it, and press it. That's it. Campesino. And let it ripen for 1 or 2 days, and you get campesino cheese. Very easy to make. Campesino cheese is a fresh cheese. So we call it in other countries, they call it palmita, not palmita. They call it llanero cheese, which is a cheese from Venezuela. They call it queso minas from Brazil, queso fresco from Brazil as well. The thing is that queso minas is a different area from Brazil, and the cheese has a little bit of more holes, but it's more or less pretty much the same cheese. Basically that. We call it llanero cheese in my country. Anyway. Well, let me see if I have another question here from the audience. Manal says here. Manal Basauer. Hi Manal. Can we wash the curd when I use the traditional way of mozzarella? Is it right? I already answered the question. Okay, so you can watch the video. And thanks for changing the time. Okay, thank you. Thank you for. Okay. Do you make burrata? Yes, I do make burrata. Very easy to make, Manal. I make burrata. I haven't made a video about burrata, but burrata is a very easy cheese to make. Look, I'm going to teach you more or less how to make burrata. To make burrata, you first have to make the mozzarella. When you make the mozzarella, you have to make like a bag of mozzarella and stuff it with stracciatella cheese. What is stracciatella cheese? The stracciatella cheese is very basic. It's the mozzarella ripped off. You just rip it off by ripping it off, and then mix it with cream, normal cream, light cream, and make like a paste. The rip off mozzarella with the cream, and then when you make the sack, put this mixture of ripped mozzarella with cream, which is stracciatella cheese, they call it stracciatella cheese, into the sack. Make the ball, stretch it, cut it, and put it into ice water. Done. Mozzarella. Burrata. Remember, the burrata is very delicate because it's a bag that is very soft, so you have to be careful. What I do is to close it, the key part is how to close it. To close it, just when you have the bag here like this, just stretch it with your fingers really hard. Or what I also do is I just use like a string, and with the string I cut it. Okay, but it's very important that you press it to strangle the neck of the sack. Because it's still hot. Once you strangle it, put it in ice water, very gently. Put it in ice water, and the burrata will float in the ice water. Don't leave it too long, and then when it's done, put it in a bag, okay, or freeze them up if you want. By freezing them up, you can extend the shelf life. Okay. Thank Manal for coming. Thank you everyone Manal always asks questions, and I love it when she asks me questions. And thank you to all of you guys for coming to my show. Remember, from now on, my show is going to be every Saturday at 11 p.m. Sorry, at 11 a.m. New Zealand time. Spread the voice that I exist. If you know anyone that wants to learn how to make cheese and is an English speaker, is invited to come to my show. And if you speak Spanish, go to my program at 9 o'clock in New Zealand time the same day. Okay. Well, that's it. And as I always say, be good and eat cheese because because life without cheese is like love